As a digital nomad, pay only 1% tax and get the complete package, including a bank account and a certificate of tax residency. How this works and where it works, you'll find out in this video. Hello and welcome. My name is Florian Wilk. I am the Managing Director of CMC, have been in Narnica for 15 years, in Cyprus, and for the past 7 years now in Tbilisi, Georgia. And in this video, I want to introduce you to a very exciting tax model that actually isn't very well known yet, but makes a lot of sense, especially for digital nomads. So if you're a freelancer, work in the service sector, maybe don't have a permanent residence, but instead travel as a digital nomad or have your residence in a country with territorial taxation, then this tax setup makes a lot of sense for you. This is about a sole proprietorship in Georgia with a special status, the so-called small business status. This status allows you to pay only 1% tax on up to 500,000 lari, annual turnover, which is about 170,000 euros, with the tax here being due on the turnover, not on the profit. This means you pay 1,700 euros in taxes on 170,000 euros in turnover. I think that's really manageable. And you have a very simplified accounting process because it's a sole proprietorship, so the bookkeeping is generally quite straightforward with just a profit and loss statement. And you don't even have to keep all your expense receipts because you can't deduct them anyway. So you don't have a situation where you don't have to do any bookkeeping at all. That's only possible in some offshore locations, which I generally don't think much of, as it rarely makes sense. Instead, you have a very lean, simplified bookkeeping process. And that makes sense because banks and authorities do sometimes ask to see your accounting. And it's always good if you can show that, of course. And that's exactly what we regularly don't have with offshore locations. Especially the US LLC is unfortunately often used incorrectly, and that not only leads to legally uncertain setups, but in some cases even to illegal setups. We don't want that. And here you have the opportunity to take a legal path. With a sole proprietorship in Georgia, where you are taxed at just 1% of your revenue in a completely regular way, yes, that's it. What's special about it, and maybe also an important piece of information, when we register your sole proprietorship, we also open your bank accounts right away. At the Bank of Georgia or a TBC bank, or even both if you want. That means you immediately have a bank account you can use for your transactions. You also get a card or even two cards, a Visa card and a MasterCard that you can use worldwide. You can use them for payments, withdrawing cash, and so on. A broker account is also optionally available. And as a side note, Georgian banks are also considered crypto-friendly. So we really have something here that's a bit of a jack of all trades for digital nomads. A very exciting setup. It is very proven. We have been able to implement this very often in recent years. And you can handle it all remotely. You don't have to travel to Georgia specifically. It's enough to go to a notary once, have a power of attorney notarized, and then have it apostilled. And then send us these apostilled documents to Tbilisi, and we'll take care of everything else on site. Or you are, of course, also welcome to visit us in our office in Tbilisi or on site to have these things done by a notary. That's possible too, of course, when you have all the options, but often just digital nomads don't necessarily have the opportunity to come to Georgia right now. This is very convenient, especially when you can resolve issues remotely. And one very important thing, this might seem like an unimportant detail to you, but it's actually very crucial. The Georgian authorities also issue a certificate of tax residency for the sole proprietorship. This is not entirely unimportant either. This is sometimes required by foreign authorities and banks. And it's important to know that this is always possible in Georgia and that you will receive this document. Because it's always extremely important to me that when you choose a tax path or a tax setup, especially as a digital nomad, since there are a lot of legal uncertainties, you really pick a path that you can stick with for the long term, for the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years and beyond. Having to completely overhaul and set up your setup again every 12 or 24 months, and that costs a lot of time and a lot of nerves. And I think you can really save yourself that hassle. So if you're interested in this setup, feel free to book a completely free, no obligation consultation. The link is below this video. It's not a sales pitch, don't worry. Of course, we would love to support you, but you will really receive completely unbiased advice. And even if this setup doesn't suit you or your situation, we will communicate that to you transparently and honestly. We are only interested in long-term and honest business relationships. So feel free to take advantage of the consultation. Don't worry, there really is no sales pressure or anything like that. That's just not how we operate. It's a purely non-binding consultation. So thank you very much for your attention. Feel free to leave me a comment as well. Maybe you already have experience with Georgia and are even using the small business. In that case, I would of course appreciate your feedback. And yes, we can definitely have a discussion about it. I respond to every comment. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're interested in topics like taxes, internationalization, or emigrating. I regularly provide you with new and up-to-date information. So thank you very much and see you again very, very soon. Yours, Florian Wilk.